Dear friends, let's read The Hand from the timeless collection of R.M. Rajgopal. Let's begin with the story. She could sense the imminent danger in her bones very distinctly. Yet, who could she blame but herself? The inexorability of it, all the seemingly steady movement at an even, sometimes languid pace towards a defined end, like something from a Greek tragedy, almost as if it was foretold, all of it, as if it was waiting to happen. It was getting harder to conceal her inner desperation any longer, though her stiff upper lip hadn't sagged, not just yet, but it would any day now, with only a couple of months left to the time of reckoning when the knockout punch would be delivered, a clean uppercut that would cleave her chin, leaving her spread eagled on the floor, disheveled, immodest, oblivious to the world around her. When she woke up much later, she was alone and frightened. The hangers on the coterie, as the press loved to term it, the now fawning sycophants, the gatekeepers would have all fled, except perhaps the most ineffectual who might cling to some thread of misplaced hope. But of what use would they be anyway? Hindsight told her that it may have been better for her to have stayed aloof, silent, regal, above the rabble and the noise, even though she didn't have her mother in law's imperious nose to look down upon. Yet she realized that even such a stance of studied apathy wouldn't last, would ultimately lead to the same piteous finale when the floodgates opened, when the past came rushing at her like angry dark monsoon clouds, drenching her, leaving herself and her children deprived of the last shreds of dignity. It was for the two of them that she had tried, for she lived only for them since he had departed. She berated herself constantly for having let all this come to such a pass. If only she had put her foot down very firmly when he was first pushed into this sordid new world of politics and governance. Maybe she might have been able to stop him, and their existence would have been so different. The four of them together, cozy, finding in each other love, contentment, strength, happiness. She shuddered at the thought of the thankless ordeal that confronted her, dreary, tiresome days full of frenetic movement from one bleak spot to the next. The raised platforms of rattling planks held precariously together with bamboo and rope. The crowds that stared up at her, a faceless mass, some brought in with inducements, others present out of curiosity. The dust, the heat, the flies, the omnipresent underlay of sweat and grime, the unpleasant melange of smells that had almost sent her into a faint the first time around, now evoking feelings that were a mixture of fortitude and distaste. The same banal words uttered in a language that she could comprehend and articulate after all these years, but would never ever be fluent in. Contrast this, she told herself, with the low misty hills of Franconia, the countryside around Nuremberg where she had grown up, the thick green hedges, the low, grass swept hills, the winding country roads that she used to cycle along, the church spires that peeped out from amongst clutters of houses, the ivy covered cottages with their pretty gardens, the deep, orderly dark forest of tall pine, snaking through in a sweeping curve the 6 lanes of the autobahn. Maybe that's where they might have lived, the four of them, if this perilous path hadn't been chosen. She is dressed for the morning in a starched pastel sari, worn over a thick blouse that is a shade darker in color. The blouse has sleeves to the elbow and buttons up to the neck. The pallu is positioned such that it can be turned up easily to cover her head without ruffling her tightly combed head of thick brown hair. Her feet are encased in sensible thick soled buckled sandals of soft leather designed for the wear and tear of the frantic times ahead. Kalu Ram has her breakfast ready, a bowl of freshly sliced red orange papaya to be washed down with a glass of cold milk. It is as she is finishing the last of the milk that she notices Kalu Ram by her side, scratching the back of his head diffidently, obviously wishing to say something, conveying by his actions that he is not certain whether he should or he should not. She smiles at him and says, "Go on, Kalu. What is it?" Affection is palpable in her voice, for Kalu has been her constant companion through the past 5 years with her children away at college overseas. Through this period of uncertainty and upheaval, he has been there, silent and unobtrusive, always. I have brought someone, he says. I want you to spend time with him. Who is it? A Baba who had come to see me. Last week, when I was at home, Kaluram had been gone a week to the Kumau hills where he belonged, from where, as he liked to tell her, the eternal mystical snows of the sacred peaks felt like they were only an arm's length away. Now, what do I need with a Baba, Kalu? She asked. I have enough troubles in front of me as it is, without anyone adding to the confusion. Precisely for that, madam, for your troubles. Maybe he can help. Just spare him a minute. If what he makes sense, you can see him once again in the evening. She nods a little reluctantly. Trust Kalu, she tells herself. To take his Baba past the Z security cordon that was an inescapable part of her life. He comes back almost immediately, the Baba in tow. Not her image of what a Baba ought to look like, no tangled beard, no matted hair, no ashes that cover the forehead. Instead, a dapper, spare person of medium height, long hair pulled back and tied into a tight bun at the nape of his neck, much like her own. A thick black orderly beard, a deep red spot of sindoor just above where his eyebrows met. He is dressed in a neat white kurta pajama, and as he folds his palm in a namaste, she notices that his eyes are his most distinctive feature, for it is as if they pierce through her, sparkling and shining. The hand, the hand, Mataji, the lines on the palm, they are all wrong. Let me draw them out for you, and you will win. I promise you that. She does not comprehend for just a moment. Then the context dawns on her and she smiles at him. Why not, she tells herself. Won't do any harm in any case. Draw them for me, she says, and explain them to me. Then we will see. It is ready with me, Mataji. He unrolls a broad sheet of thick white paper that he is carrying with him. In the evening, she tells him, when I have more time. It is a long day, endless confabulations with a bewildering variety of individuals, all clad in white as if cloned for the occasion, an equally bewildering variety of languages and dialects. This is the season for the distribution of tickets to contest, a messy job at best, impossible at most times. She is tired, both physically and mentally. She has had a little time to dwell on the encounter of the morning and the couple of times that she does think about it. She is unsure of whether to laugh the whole thing or to actually spend time with Kalu's Baba. Now she is washed and changed and ready for dinner, a place set for one at the head of the table. She decides, no harm done, she says to herself, yet the part of her that still belongs to Deutschland sniggers, but only gently. After the meal, Kalu and the Baba come in. I will keep it brief, he tells her. You look tired. He unrolls the paper and places an unused spoon on one side of it and fork on the other, so that paper flies flat and taut. The hand looks to be the same as one in the posters at the party's central office. At least it looks familiar. Within the palm, neatly drawn, are the lines. The Baba explains. The lifeline, he says, is unbroken and of even texture. It skirts the Mount of Venus in a gentle curve while staying close to it. It ends in the first racet on the wrist, joins it, and travels along with it. This, he says, is how the line ought to be. It is indicative of a combination of long life, peace, and success. The headline is joined to the lifeline at the start but separates soon thereafter. If they remain joined for too long, the Baba explains, it is not good. It would signify a lack of self confidence. The line travels in a gentle curve that skirts Uranus and at the termination is taut and straight. A combination of high degrees of intelligence and common sense, the Baba says. The heart line starts with a fork deep within Jupiter and traverses the entire length of the hand, spaced just the right distance away from the line of the head. What it indicates is a combination of success and graciousness. The line of Saturn, of course, commences in Luna and terminates at the center of its mother mount. The best indication possible, the sun line too runs show, straight and uncut, rising in the middle of the palm and ending in the writer higher and signifies glorious success, as glorious as the sun god himself. Finally, the line of Mercury, indicative of both health and wealth, which rises long and straight from Luna, ends up at the base of the little finger. This, the Baba tells her, is as good as you can get. With lines such as these, he says there is no way they can lose. Victory, and a thumping one at that, he says, is assured. He finishes and he looks up at her, and those disconcerting eyes peer once again, as if into the depths of her soul. To her side is Kalu Ram, looking a little nervous as he scratches the back of his head once again. Her mind is suddenly made up. She stands up and says Namaste to the Baba. She goes into her bedroom and returns with two 500 rupee notes that she offers him. But no, he says, all I want is that what I have given you works. And you win. He is firm. She relents. As Kalu escorts his guest out, she can see that Kalu is smiling to himself, satisfied. If there is one thing about the organization that she heads which makes her happy, it is the quality of compliance to instructions from the very top. Within days, photocopies of the Baba's drawing of the hand are with every functionary that counts. What Madam says goes. So the posters are printed in their thousands, with the lines on the palm as the Baba had drawn them. No questions are asked as to where the drawing had come from. Madam wants it this way, and so it must be done. From the depths of despondency to a willingness to engage in battle, from diffidence to increasing degrees of self belief, from being cajoled into action to storm trooping from the front lines, she is amazed at the fount of energy that she discovers within herself. Even more amazing is the transformation that the moribund party of hers undergoes. Togetherness and teamwork in a setup where attempting to lynch one another is a regular pastime, of ensuring each candidate's victory instead of clandestine undermining. Hard work and campaigning that stretches late into the night instead of a patiala at twilight. Excerpts from the Leader of the National Age, 15th November 2002. Never in its 50 years of existence has the country witnessed a transformation in electoral fortunes as dramatic as this. From being an underdog, written off several times over, the party under the leadership of Miss has achieved the unbelievable, a two-third majority in parliament, and not only that, a mandate that is truly national in its true nature. There is no single state of the union that has not returned the party with a thumping majority. In fact, in physiological way, the voting patterns are almost eerily uniform from province to province. The irony of what has happened cannot be forgotten. That 50 years after the last Englishman who ruled us left our shores, a daughter of Europe was sworn in as Prime Minister last evening. So friends, this is the end of the story. Please stay tuned for another story.